Hi, and welcome to a new challenge series, this time on organizing and getting to know your Google Drive. And so, for our first challenge, we are going to look at creating and renaming folders in Google Drive. So, the first thing we need to know about folders in Google Drive or files is that folders are always first. So, you can see some of my folders here, and then files are always below. If we look at that in the different view, we can see folders on top and files below. Now, everything is organized alphabetically. So, folders alphabetically first, and then all files alphabetically afterwards. So, if you're organizing files or moving things around or getting started for a new school year, one of the things that you're going to want to be able to do is make a new folder. So, to do that, you're going to come up to the top right left hand corner and click on the new button and choose folder. So we're going to call this one Google Drive Challenge, and then we can put any items that we do for the Google Drive Challenge into that one over time. So when I hit create, you can see that it's going to come in here. It's under G alphabetically, and so it files alphabetically in my drive. Now you'll notice it is inside my Google Drive. If I want to make another folder inside of that folder, what I do is I open up the first folder, and now you can see there's nothing in here. And I'm going to click new, and I'm going to make a new folder. I'm going to call this challenge number 1. I'll create that. Now, if I wanted to make a document, if I just hit new right here, I'll just make a Google Slides document. We'll see where it ends up. So I'm going to come up to the top left, and I'm going to name this presentation challenge number 1. Hit enter. Now let's come back to my Google Drive and see where that ended up. So you'll see that it is underneath my challenge number 1 folder. That's because I did not have my challenge number 1 folder open. So I can just go ahead and I can actually drag that in there, but we're going to talk about organizing and dragging and moving folders in another month's challenge. Now what we can do is we can look at organizing or changing some of our words. And so I'm going to come back to my Google Drive where I have a few more folders, and we're going to see how we can do some organizing here. So one of the things that I can do is, let's say I wanted to take my Google Drive challenge. If I right click and go down to the little color palette, I can make this, let's say, red. So now you'll see that I have a Google Drive challenge folder that's red. Now, if I have a lot of folders, sometimes I might want my folder to appear at the top of my list. So I can click on my folder. If I right click and hit rename, there's a couple tricks. If I put a number 1 in front of here, numbers go above anything else. And then let's say I wanted to take another one of my folders and I wanted to move that up above. I'm going to say rename. If I put a symbol, let's take an asterisk. If I put that in front, asterisks or symbols go above numbers. Now, another thing I like to do is also add emojis. So I'm going to rename this one. I'm going to put my cursor at the beginning. And if I right click, it's different on every machine, but if you right click, you might get a pop up at the top that says emojis or emojis and symbols. And then I could put any type of emoji on there, and you'll see that emojis also move things up to the top beneath symbols but above numbers. So those are some different ways that you can organize. Now, for our challenge, I'm going to have you make a folder called Google Drive Challenge, and I'm going to have you change the color of it. I also, if you have a folder named Classroom, I also want you to change the name. So this is how we're going to test that you can rename something. So you're going to right click, go on rename. And if you have a folder that's called Classroom, it's actually your Google Classroom folder. And you should never delete it or actually save anything different in there. So I want you to call this one Google Classroom and then put don't save here. And that'll be a reminder that you never want to save anything there on your own, usually what happens is anytime you use Google Classroom, it puts a copy of your materials in there automatically. So you don't want to go and accidentally delete that or add anything else to that. So for your challenge today, you are going to make a folder called Google Drive Challenge. And then I want you to put one more folder inside of there. You can call it challenge number one. You can call it science or social, or make a whole bunch of folders. And then I also, if you have a folder that just says classroom, when you take a screenshot, I shouldn't see one that just says classroom. Instead, it should say Google Drive Classroom, don't save here. And while we're at it, let's change the color to green because Google Classroom icon is green. So those are your challenges for today.